They thought their crimes would stay buried forever. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch had been walking around WWE for months, portraying themselves as wrestling royalty and industry leaders, believing that their systematic betrayal of former friends and their participation in corporate conspiracy programs would never be exposed to the wrestling world. But CM Punk and AJ Lee just delivered the most explosive, most personally devastating confrontation in wrestling history, revealing that Seth and Becky's perfect marriage is built on a foundation of shared guilt over attempted murder, systematic manipulation, and corporate crimes so sickening that they can only be exposed by people who risked everything to document the truth about wrestling's most corrupt power couple and their role in nearly destroying everyone who ever trusted them. The confrontation that shattered wrestling's most celebrated relationship happened at exactly 10:15 p.m. during what was supposed to be Seth and Becky's anniversary celebration segment, where they were reminiscing about their journey from individual stars to wrestling's power couple while surrounded by flowers, champagne, and corporate executives celebrating their success as WWE's model family. Seth and Becky looked genuinely happy, one eyewitness later recalled with obvious irony. They were holding hands, sharing romantic stories, presenting themselves as proof that authentic love could survive in wrestling's competitive environment, completely unaware that two people who knew the truth about their relationship were about to destroy their carefully constructed narrative. But their romantic celebration was interrupted by the sound that made every person in that arena realize that justice was about to be served in the most public and humiliating way possible: CM Punk's music hitting the speakers for the first time since his controversial departure from wrestling. The crowd erupted when they heard Punk's music, another witness observed with growing excitement, but there was something different about his entrance, something more serious and determined that made everyone understand this wasn't about nostalgia or surprise returns, this was about accountability. But what made Punk's appearance even more shocking was AJ Lee's emergence beside him, carrying what appeared to be a briefcase full of documents that would expose the systematic corruption that had defined Seth and Becky's rise to power. AJ looked like someone who had spent months gathering evidence, a ringside observer noted with obvious anticipation. She wasn't there for emotional support or dramatic effect, she was there as someone who had documented crimes and was ready to present proof of everything that Seth and Becky had hoped would never see daylight. But standing in that ring, facing the couple whose romantic facade had fooled the wrestling world, CM Punk delivered words that would echo through wrestling history as the most devastating exposure of systematic betrayal ever captured on live television. Seth, Becky, Punk's voice carried through the arena with controlled fury that made everyone understand this was about documented facts rather than personal grievances. Before you continue celebrating your beautiful love story, maybe you should explain to these people how your relationship really began, and what it cost the people who trusted you both. The ominous challenge sent visible terror through both Seth and Becky's faces, as if they immediately understood that their most carefully guarded secrets were about to be revealed to the world in the most public and damaging way possible. "Punk, whatever you think you know about our relationship," Seth's response carried the desperation of someone who understood that his victim had somehow survived and returned with evidence that could destroy everything he had built. But AJ Lee's systematic documentation of Seth and Becky's crimes had uncovered something so fundamentally evil that it transformed their celebrated romance from inspiring love story into evidence of the most calculated manipulation in wrestling history. "Your relationship didn't begin with mutual attraction or shared interests," AJ announced with clinical precision as she opened her briefcase of evidence. "It began when both of you realized you had participated in systematic betrayal and attempted murder, and you needed each other's silence to avoid criminal prosecution." The revelation that Seth and Becky's romance was actually a criminal conspiracy disguised as authentic love sent shockwaves through everyone present and immediately recontextualized their entire public relationship. "Your first date was a meeting to coordinate your stories about Roman's assassination attempt," Punk continued the systematic exposure of their corruption. "Your romantic chemistry was actually criminal partnership designed to ensure that neither of you would ever testify against the other's participation in international conspiracy." But perhaps the most sickening aspect of Seth and Becky's relationship was the discovery that they had systematically manipulated the wrestling media and fan community to present their criminal partnership as inspiring romance that other couples should aspire to emulate. "You turn your shared guilt into a love story," AJ revealed with disgust at the systematic manipulation of public emotion. "Using your participation in attempted murder as the foundation for a relationship that fans would celebrate while never understanding that they were actually supporting criminal conspiracy." The systematic deception of wrestling fans who had celebrated their relationship revealed Seth and Becky as more than just individual criminals, they were manipulators who had weaponized public emotion to provide cover for their shared participation in systematic betrayal and attempted murder. Every romantic gesture, every public display of affection, every anniversary celebration has been designed to maintain the narrative that would protect both of you from criminal prosecution. Punk continued his exposure of their systematic deception. But AJ's investigation had also uncovered the specific role that their relationship played in ongoing corporate conspiracy programs, serving as proof that criminals could find love and redemption through their shared participation in systematic evil. "WWE uses your relationship as recruitment propaganda," AJ announced with evidence that would expose the corporate manipulation of romance for criminal purposes. showing other performers that participation in conspiracy and betrayal can lead to career advancement, financial success, and even authentic romantic connection. The systematic use of their criminal partnership as corporate propaganda revealed Seth and Becky's relationship as more than personal deception. It was institutional manipulation designed to encourage other performers to participate in systematic betrayal by demonstrating its potential benefits. Young wrestlers are told that Seth and Becky's success proves that difficult decisions can lead to beautiful outcomes. Punk continued his exposure of how their relationship served corporate manipulation objectives. But perhaps the most personally devastating revelation was the discovery that Seth and Becky had been systematically eliminating anyone who might expose the criminal foundation of their relationship, using their combined influence and resources to destroy careers and lives. You've been targeting anyone who might remember the truth about how your relationship really began, AJ revealed with horror at the systematic elimination campaign. Former friends, fellow performers, anyone with knowledge about your participation in conspiracy has been systematically eliminated or silenced. The ongoing elimination campaign to protect their relationship's false narrative revealed Seth and Becky as more than just criminals who had found love. They were systematic predators who would destroy anyone who threatened their carefully constructed public image. Dean Ambrose wasn't driven out of WWE by creative frustrations, Punk announced with explosive revelations about previously misunderstood departures. He was eliminated because he had evidence about Seth's participation in conspiracy and was planning to expose the truth about your relationship's criminal foundation. But the most shocking aspect of their systematic elimination campaign was the discovery that they had been using their relationship as a weapon to manipulate and control other wrestling couples, ensuring their silence through romantic manipulation and emotional blackmail. You've been targeting other wrestling couples, AJ revealed with evidence that expanded the scope of their crimes beyond individual elimination. Using your status as wrestling's power couple to manipulate relationships, create dependencies, and ensure that entire families remain silent about what they might know. The systematic manipulation of other wrestling relationships revealed Seth and Becky's corruption as more than personal criminal activity. It was comprehensive social engineering designed to control the entire wrestling community through romantic and family manipulation. Couples who don't cooperate with your narrative face systematic relationship destruction. Punk continued his exposure of their manipulation tactics. Mysterious marital problems, manufactured conflicts, even strategic affairs designed to eliminate relationships that might pose threats to your secret. But perhaps the most emotionally devastating revelation was the discovery that Seth and Becky's own relationship was maintained through systematic manipulation and mutual blackmail rather than authentic love or genuine compatibility. Your marriage isn't based on love, AJ announced with documentation that would destroy their romantic narrative forever. It's a criminal partnership maintained through mutual assured destruction. You stay together because you both have enough evidence to destroy each other if the relationship fails. The systematic blackmail that maintained their relationship revealed Seth and Becky's romance as perhaps the most cynical manipulation of authentic human emotion ever documented, transforming love into a weapon for mutual criminal protection. You don't trust each other, you don't even like each other, Punk continued with psychological analysis that exposed the hollow core of their celebrated partnership. You're both terrified that the other might eventually decide that freedom from the relationship is worth the risk of mutual criminal exposure. But standing in that ring, confronted with documented evidence of their systematic crimes and the false foundation of their relationship, Seth and Becky's response revealed the complete moral bankruptcy that had defined their rise to power. Everything we did was for the good of the wrestling industry. Seth's attempted justification revealed someone who had convinced himself that criminal conspiracy could be rationalized through institutional benefit. The wrestling business needed responsible leadership. Becky added her own pathetic attempt to justify systematic betrayal and attempted murder through appeals to greater good and industrial stability. But Punk and AJ's systematic documentation had prepared them for these exact rationalizations, and their response revealed the moral clarity that separated authentic heroism from criminal conspiracy disguised as leadership. Responsible leadership doesn't require attempted murder, Punk declared with authority that cut through their justifications like a sword. Industrial stability doesn't justify systematic betrayal of friends and colleagues. And authentic love doesn't require criminal conspiracy to maintain itself. The moral framework that Punk established eliminated any possible justification for Seth and Becky's actions and reduced their crimes to their essential evil regardless of their attempts to contextualize them through institutional benefit. You tried to murder Roman Reigns because he threatened your career advancement. AJ continued the systematic destruction of their rationalizations. You manipulated wrestling fans because your relationship needed public support to maintain its criminal protection. You eliminated former friends because your secrets required systematic silence to avoid prosecution. But perhaps the most devastating moment came when Punk and AJ revealed the specific evidence they had gathered about Seth and Becky's ongoing criminal activities and their plans for future elimination campaigns. We have recordings, Punk announced with satisfaction that sent visible panic through the power couple. Audio and video documentation of your planning sessions, your elimination strategies, your discussions about which former friends and colleagues needed to be silenced to protect your relationship and your careers. The existence of recorded evidence transformed their confrontation from personal accusation into criminal prosecution that could result in federal charges and life imprisonment for both members of wrestling's most celebrated couple. We have financial records showing payments for elimination services, AJ added, with documentation that would destroy their corporate protection and result in immediate termination. Banking documents proving your participation in conspiracy, communication records revealing your coordination with international operatives, medical evidence of your attempts to poison and eliminate perceived threats. But the most powerful moment came when Punk and AJ revealed their ultimate purpose in exposing Seth and Becky's criminal partnership, not just personal revenge, but industry-wide protection for other wrestlers who might be targeted by similar manipulation and elimination campaigns. "We're not here just to expose your crimes," Punk declared with moral authority that elevated their confrontation beyond personal conflict. "We're here to ensure that other wrestling couples, other performer relationships, and other authentic connections can exist without being corrupted or eliminated by people like you who view human bonds as weapons for personal advancement." The transformation of their personal confrontation into industry-wide protection provided hope that wrestling could be reformed and authentic relationships could be preserved from systematic manipulation by criminal power couples. Every wrestler watching this needs to understand that Seth and Becky's success was built on the systematic destruction of everyone who trusted them, AJ continued with warning that extended their exposure beyond individual justice to comprehensive industry education. But perhaps the most significant outcome of Punk and AJ's confrontation was the immediate collapse of Seth and Becky's carefully constructed public image and the exposure of their relationship as criminal conspiracy rather than inspiring romance. Their anniversary celebration became a criminal confession, one witness observed with satisfaction at the complete reversal of their narrative. Their romantic story became evidence of systematic manipulation, their love became proof of shared guilt, and their success became documentation of comprehensive betrayal. The systematic destruction of their public image revealed the power of documented truth to overcome even the most sophisticated manipulation and propaganda campaigns. Wrestling fans realized they had been celebrating criminal conspiracy, another observer noted with recognition of how thoroughly their manipulation had succeeded before being exposed. Supporting systematic betrayal, romanticizing attempted murder, and encouraging relationship models based on mutual blackmail rather than authentic love. But standing over the morally destroyed forms of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, CM Punk and AJ Lee delivered their final statement about justice, truth, and the power of authentic relationships to overcome systematic criminal manipulation. "Real love doesn't require criminal conspiracy to maintain itself," Punk concluded with moral clarity that provided a template for authentic relationships. "Real success doesn't require systematic betrayal of friends and colleagues. And real leadership doesn't require attempted murder of perceived threats." The wrestling world was struggling to process CM Punk and AJ Lee's explosive confrontation with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, and the devastating revelation that wrestling's most celebrated power couple was actually a criminal partnership maintained through mutual blackmail and shared guilt over attempted murder. But most importantly, Punk and AJ had proven that systematic documentation and moral courage could expose even the most sophisticated criminal manipulation, and that authentic relationships based on genuine love and shared values would always triumph over partnerships built on shared guilt and mutual assured destruction. Seth and Becky thought their crimes would stay buried forever, one final observer noted with satisfaction at the completeness of their exposure. They forgot that some people will risk everything to ensure that criminal conspiracy faces consequences, regardless of how successfully it's been disguised as inspiring romance. The confrontation that exposed everything had changed wrestling forever, and relationships would never again be taken at face value in an industry where criminal partnerships could be systematically disguised as authentic love stories designed to manipulate public emotion and provide cover for ongoing conspiracy and elimination campaigns. The explosive segment that shattered wrestling's most celebrated romance had revealed the truth that some bonds are built on shared evil rather than shared love, and that justice will eventually find even the most carefully hidden crimes when victims survive to document and expose systematic betrayal disguised as inspiring success stories.